Good morning, everyone. Would you please stand for the singing of our national anthem?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Would you please be seated? I would like to say thanks again this year to Lieutenant Colonel Bill Tubbs, who always begins our ceremony with beautiful moments that bring us together in our hearts, and his music from the bagpipes. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Also, thank you to Randy Hyatt and to Anthony Johnson, who performed the music as we were gathering, that we were sharing and bringing us into this place. And of course to the talented Caltrans quartet, who sings so beautifully. I think more beautifully this year than ever before. Wouldn't you agree? Rex Clough, Don Howe, Joe Rouse, and Mark Swaby. So ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, co-workers, colleagues, all of us together in a family that we call the Caltrans family today, it's an honor to welcome you to the 23rd Annual Caltrans Workers Memorial. I'm Beth Ruyak. I'm the host of a program called Insight on Capital Radio, Capital Public Radio. This is one of the jobs, though, that is very near and dear to my heart. It's an honor to be with you, and I'd like to say a special welcome to all of the families that are here today to share in this moment that we take together. What's important, really, to all of the families and to all of us is that all of you have made time to come together and honor the workers, the men and women of our state who give their lives, their time, and their joy to this work, and who have died in the line of duty, and we remember them today. There are sponsors who help make this ceremony possible. We're going to take a moment to thank them: the California Transportation Foundation, the International Union of Operating Engineers, State Unit 12, PEG, the Professional Engineers in California Government, Delcan, C.C. Myers, Inc., the American Traffic Safety Services Association with the National Traveling Wall that you see behind me, California State Military Reserve, which Lieutenant Tubbs is a part of, the Flasher Barricade, and the CHP, who you see once again this year, honoring us with their presence, and the Human Wall. It has been for all of us almost 2 years, if you're watching the calendar, since a Caltrans fatality, and that was after the loss of 3 workers almost at the same time in Caltrans District 11. We have since focused on safety and awareness and care and caution, and all those efforts made a difference. Today we're going to honor 2 lives that were lost just 8 days ago. But I do want to add a note to that. And we wrestled with how much of this to share today. All I can tell you with a very open heart is that we're a family, and so we all need to share in the news of what happened today. There was an accident this morning. A Caltrans worker lost his life on the way to this ceremony. He's a member of the special teams maintenance crew out of Nevada City. His wife and family have been notified. A lot of you know him, worked with him. His name is Dean Patton. So we pause and hold a moment for Dean, for his family, for all of life that's changing right now in these moments. Could I ask you to bow your heads in silence? Our hearts and prayers to the family and friends of Dean Patton and to everybody that works so closely as a family with him. 8 days ago, you know, there was a massive rock slide near Happy Camp and a mountainside scaling operation, a crew that I believe was 8 members, 2 members of that Wairika crew, Robert Jones and Sean Baker. We've seen pictures and heard stories this morning. They lost their lives in that accident, and another person in that crew, Kevin Skillen, was injured. He was hospitalized. I understand that he's out of the hospital. He was able to make a visit to the crew, and everybody is helping to share in the recovery. Sean and Robert, some of you know, each had landmark birthdays, not only in this last year, but in April. Sean was born in New Mexico. His home was the little town of Weed, California. He had just turned 50 on April 4th. He and his wife Tammy had been married 26 years. He had 4 children, his parents, Linda and Bud Baker, 3 brothers, and a sister. Robert was born in Wairika. He turned 40 on April 15th. He and his wife Shannon have 3 children. They lived in Big Springs. He has parents, step-parents, a blended family of siblings, and I think some of you also know Robert's aunt, Duana Lankford. At one point, she was on the same crew that Robert was on, and now she works at headquarters in Redding as a superintendent. Sean served in the Navy. He was an active guy who liked to ride his quad. He loved being outside. He loved water sports. He was smiley. He was friendly. He was a family guy, and he absolutely loved working for Caltrans. Robert was an outdoorsman. He was a hunter, and he fished, and he was devoted to his family. In fact, if he called you a friend, you were in his family. You were also the best. You were the champ. You were number 1, and life was awesome. He was also a volunteer firefighter for the Maton Fire Department. The funerals are in Northern California today and tomorrow. So Sean and Robert's families are joining us next year here in Sacramento, which sounds like there is a space between us. But I want to ask you today, is there? If you can take a moment and glance at the front of your program, you see the silhouettes of 4 workers. And I want to talk for just a second about that place between the 4 workers. The space, because I think that's the space where we connect, where we bond, where we feel our love, our friendship, our care, our compassion. I think it's the space that binds us. I think it's the space where we remember to care, so we physically aren't all together. And even when we are, whoever knows the absolute inside of our hearts or our thoughts. But if we work on the space and connect in that place, then we are all together, and we care more, and we're more protective, and we're more cautious, because we realize that we're all in this together. And so with thoughts of Dean and Sean and Robert, and all of the members of the family here today, representing all of the loved ones that have been lost, Please be in the space. Please be in the place where you connect in your heart and your mind and your soul. We're sharing condolences for the more than 70 family members representing 16 workers who have joined us here today. The first of those is Donald Parker from District 7, who lost his life in 1971. And I mention every year that Donald's brother, Bob Pence, is an ever-present member of our honor guard. A lot of you might remember last year that Bob fainted during our ceremony, which isn't uncommon if you're standing for a long time, especially in uniform. And the only reason I bring it up is that I want you all to know, because we weren't sure when we left last year, he's fine. He's here in uniform. He's a little embarrassed. He needn't be. But we were frightened, and now we're just so proud to embrace him again. So Bob, it's great to have you with us. And in Bob's honor, we've changed protocol a bit, and the honor guard will be seated this year for part of the ceremony. We're also, an applause for that by the families. We're honoring the families of Perry Stilts, District 4 in 1973, whose son Ryan works at Caltrans headquarters. The family of Carl Taylor, District 2, 1976. David Guillen, District 7, 1976. The family of Ann McCormick, District 3, 1987. The family of Juan Thome, District 7, 1993, who, by the way, rented a car yesterday to try to get to Sacramento, and the car broke down, and the tow truck driver drove them as far as Patterson to a hotel, and then they didn't know how they'd get here today. And Christine, his wife, it's 20 years this year that her dear husband Juan has been lost. Christine called Caltrans headquarters in tears saying, "I don't know how to do it." And guess what? A Caltrans family member got in a truck, drove down, picked him up. Christine and her sister, the family, are here today marking this 20th anniversary. Thank you to everybody that made that happen. The family of Thomas Ortega from District 8 in 1995. The family of Chester Hawkins from District 10 in 2004. The family of Jackie Aldridge in District 9 in 2006. The family of Tony Pontliana, who was an employee of the city of Sacramento, who lost his life in 2006. The family of Dwan Bush in District 4, 2007. Matthew White, District 3, 2007. Donald Licklider, District 10 in 2009. Deborah Ross, District 4 in 2009. Stephen Palmer Sr., District 11, who lost his life in 2011, whose son Stephen Jr. works on the D11 maintenance crew, and Richard Gonzalez, also from District 11, who lost his life in 2011, whose son Ron also works on the maintenance crew. We know that you have a choice about whether to be here today. We honor all the family members who have made that choice to share their love, their memories, the space with all of us. We want to be in the space with you. And thank you to all of you who have come here today to remember all of our brothers and sisters. I would now like to ask our Senior Chaplain, Mindy Russell, Executive Director of the Sacramento Law Enforcement Chaplaincy, to lead us in a moment of prayer. Thank you for allowing me to lead you in a word of prayer today. And on behalf of the chaplains all over the state of California, we put you in our prayers deliberately every single day for your protection as well. Thank you for the job that you do out there for us. Would you bow your heads? Almighty God, we are silent before you as we remember our two friends and co-workers who gave their lives while keeping our highways safe. We are honored that we were allowed to take a moment of silence because their lives mattered and we remembered them. We also pray that this ceremony and others like it across our state and nation
offers a personal renewing and rededication to the mission that we are all involved in. This is a profession whose workplace is on the side of the road where vehicles are moving at speeds 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. We pray that the bright orange cones are not just looked at, but actually seen as a reminder to slow down and be aware of these great men and women. May you provide comfort to all the families, friends whose lives were changed forever when their loved one was taken. Help them know that their loved ones' lives do matter, and we will continue to remember them each year at these ceremonies. Bless all the workers here in attendance. Bless those in leadership to continue to make this profession safer. And bless the drivers out there on the roads to deliberately make the decision to drive safer for them, for us. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
The Caltrans Honor Guard brings reverence and beauty to this memorial. We thank them for their participation year after year. Our diamond formation has been built with one cone representing each of the 180 men and women whom we remember today. In the center, you see 2 orange cones and a black cone. One of the orange cones is in honor of Robert Jones, whose funeral, as I mentioned, is this afternoon. The other one honors Sean Baker, whose funeral is tomorrow. And by the way, for those ceremonies, one in Wairika and one in Mount Shasta, there is a CHP escort also from Reading. Many, many ways that honor is being brought to the workers and their families and their friends. Also in the middle of the formation, you see a black diamond which represents all workers across the United States who have lost their lives on the jobs. That includes the workers of our contractors. Today, that black cone has special meaning for us. Today, the black cone added to the cones representing Sean and Robert represents Dean Patton. And again, we stay with him in spirit. Nationally, I think you know that fines are doubled and campaigns are intense for staying safe in the highway work zones. And those fines can total $1,000 or more for drivers who make the wrong choices. But it's what happens to our lives, our working spirit, and the camaraderie and companionship that we have with each other that is really the loss in a work zone accident. The primary reasons those accidents happen: number 1, alcohol; number 2, speeding; number 3, distracted driving, which I tend to think about as texting, but it isn't always. It's reaching for a cup of coffee, it's grabbing your water bottle. Distracted driving falls under a lot of categories. And as I announce that here, I remind myself every time I leave this ceremony, every time I talk to a young driver, every time we take a moment, distracted driving is moving up closer and closer to a number 1 cause. Everybody asks, and we ask together, that we pay attention to focus on the highways, that we don't drink and drive, that we slow down, and that we ask each other, are we thinking about the road, or are we thinking about all the people connected to being on the road? The national campaign theme is "We're all in this together," and they offered bullet points. And number 10 on the bullet point was all about remembering dads and sons and brothers and moms and sisters and daughters, that you all work on those work zones, on the highways, near the highways. We stand together today. We have to stay together until we meet here again next year and do what we can to promote caution, to promote focus, to promote slowing down, paying attention, and ultimately saving lives. It's now my pleasure to introduce Caltrans Chief Deputy Director, Rick Land.
Thank you, Beth. Well, on behalf of all of Caltrans, I would like to offer my deepest condolences to the families, to the co-workers, and friends of the 180 Caltrans employees who have made the ultimate sacrifice while serving the state of California. Caltrans Director Malcolm Doherty was planning on being here today, but instead he is attending the memorial services for Robert Jones today and Sean Baker tomorrow up in District 2. And as Beth said, Robert and Sean died in a devastating rock slide on Highway 96 in Siskiyou County last week. It's a sad tragedy to lose such dedicated Caltrans workers, along with too many others who have died serving the state of California. So as Beth mentioned, we've added 2 cones for Robert and Sean for a total of 180 cones in this 48-foot caution sign that's laid out before you. This represents all Caltrans workers killed while serving the state of California. These cones are a symbol of each worker's dedication and the risks that they have taken while working on the state's highways. As Beth mentioned, Caltrans is a family. These things happen suddenly, they happen tragically, and they have a deep impact and are felt deeply throughout the organization. Now, while today's memorial focuses on the members of our Caltrans family who have died in service to the state, we also recognize that there are many others who have lost their lives while on the job along California's highways, including officers in the California Highway Patrol, our partners at the local public works level, and this year in particular has been particularly difficult for our partners in the construction contractors industry. As you can see by the representation on the dais today, it is important to all levels of California and U.S. government that no more highway workers are killed serving the state of California. In addition to the speakers today, joining us in the dais, we have Mike Duman, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the California Division of the Federal Highway Administration. Our very dear partner, Commissioner Joe Farrell from the California Highway Patrol. Chief Deputy Director Gene Shimoto from the Department of Motor Vehicles. Director Jacob Applesmith from the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. And although Chris Murphy, the Director of the California Office of Traffic Safety, could not be here today, I'd like to acknowledge him and the strong partnership that Caltrans has with his organization. Joining us in the dignitary signet area is California Transportation Commissioner Jim Arp, Transportation Commissioner Chair Jim Gilmetti, former Caltrans Director Will Kempton, former Business Transportation and Housing Agency Secretary Dale Bonner, and then also here today is Stephen Lee, who's President of Professional Engineers in California Government. I want to specifically thank the Federal Highway Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation's many efforts to work together with us to reduce highway work zone fatalities. Working together, we are reducing fatalities. Since 2002, nationwide work zone fatalities have been cut in half. So I know we can continue to work together to save even more lives, and we must. Safety has always been Caltrans' #1 priority. We've been tracking our employee fatalities since 1994, almost 90 years. But our numbers peaked in the 1990s. So we started a public awareness campaign to educate drivers and ask them to slow for the cone zone. Since the Slow for the Cone Zone campaign started in 1999, all California highway fatalities have decreased 63%. Then in the spring of 2011, after Caltrans lost 3 employees in a very short period of time, 48 days, we took another in-depth look at our safety measures, redoubled our efforts, and tightened our partnerships with industry and the California Highway Patrol to increase safety even more. That summer, we launched the Move Over campaign to increase motorists' awareness of the law that requires drivers to move over a lane if it's safe to do so, or slow down when passing vehicles with flashing amber lights. We continue to promote both safety campaigns strongly. Last month, we began installing 100 permanent move over signs throughout California to promote the move over law before the heavy summer construction season. We're also working together with our construction industry partners to find new ways to improve work zone safety. We're also using latest technology and innovative designs to maintain the highways more safely and more efficiently. One example, after successfully piloting temporary rumble strips in Northern California that are used to help slow down traffic in work zones, we're now expanding that product pilot to the rest of the state. We're also testing remotely operated slow and stop paddle holders that not only keep employees out of the middle of the highway lane, but also alert traffic to slow or stop for the highway work ahead. Today, you'll also notice on the street behind you, we have our new 26-foot towable snow blade on display. This blade clears twice as much snow off of our highways as our 11-foot long standard blades. And since the towable blade looks like a jackknifed truck as it's drug up the mountain sideways, motorists are even more apt to drive slowly and cautiously around it, which is a good way to drive in the snow, slowly and cautiously. While these innovations and efforts are great, they're still not enough. Caltrans workers are still dealing with the dangerous aspects of Mother Nature, and then add to that motorists who are whizzing by, often inches from our highway workers, often at more than 70 miles an hour. On average, 1,000 Caltrans vehicles are hit on the highway each year. Today, throughout this summer, we've got over 650 active construction contracts underway. That's the largest total ever. So projects are going on up and down the state. Our challenge is to complete this record amount of work while keeping California's highway workers safe. So as you can see, we're doing a number of things to improve worker safety, but clearly there is more to do. That's where we need the motorist's help. If you are distracted in any way, or speeding, or texting, or happen to hit something in a work zone, you're not only putting your life in danger, but the lives of others as well. Please slow for the cone zone. Move over if it is safe to do so, or slow down when passing vehicles with flashing amber lights. The men and women who work on highways every day help protect the motoring public and keep our highways safe. Let's do the same for you. Let's do the same for them. Now I'd like to introduce Business Transportation and Housing Agency Acting Secretary Brian Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon. Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. I, of course, welcome the opportunity to express my tremendous respect for every Caltrans worker who practices his or her craft in our communities, on our highways, making California a safer and better place. This is a real honor for me to join with you on this occasion and recognize the great sacrifices Caltrans workers are making every day in service to the public, and particularly to those who sacrificed all. There are many families here who have suffered great loss, and I'm here to express my heartfelt condolences to you, to honor the work of your loved one, and to honor you and tell you how much I appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much. I also want to express my condolences specifically to the families of Caltrans Wairika crew members, Sean Baker and Robert Jones. They died last week in a rock slide in Siskiyou County, and these men were out there on the highway working to make our lives better and the public safer. We're forever grateful for their service. I've spent nearly 20 years of my life working in the public sector. In the legislature, I enjoyed wrestling with the challenges of trying to craft better policies and new law, of trying to solve problems. Today, I work with departments to implement laws, policies, and programs to protect the public's health and safety, to keep California moving. In both capacities, I've enjoyed working with people who have chosen to dedicate their lives to public service. And I continue to be inspired by that service and by all of you. In this vein, I'd like to spend a moment acknowledging the tremendous work done by Caltrans workers every day. Highway construction and maintenance is one of the most dangerous jobs in America. Caltrans workers are out there every day on California's 50,000 miles of highways, fixing roads and securing our infrastructure, doing everything they can to keep people safe. They toil along roadways with vehicles flying by just feet or sometimes inches away. They keep our highways free of debris and work in the dead of night and in trying circumstances to make our roads better. This is just a small fraction of what Caltrans workers do day in and day out. Certainly in today's environment, gratitude is hard to come by for government workers. There is a real tendency in hard times to forget and to dismiss public service as bureaucracy. But I look at the men and women of Caltrans and your public service and their public service and see a far different and inspiring reality. Over the years, Caltrans has had its periods of challenges, and we're in such a period today. But the challenges pale compared to the determination of dedicated public servants committed to solving problems. And that is what you all do, and that is what they all did. That commitment is what will carry the department through today's challenges and through the challenges of tomorrow. Recently, the pundit, actor, and comedian Ben Stein had something very positive to say about public service. His words caught my ear because the expression was both rare and stayed with me because, again, in my almost 20 years in state service, I think the words are right. And Stein said, government employees include cops and firefighters who do some of the most dangerous and vital work in society. Government employees include prosecutors and prison guards who do work that is often extremely dangerous and deeply necessary. Government employees are the doctors and nurses at VA hospitals. They are the teachers who try to teach our kids, the men and women who keep track of economic health and statistics, without which we cannot measure progress or failure. He said these people, these public servants, are the muscle and bone of the nation. And that's the way I see it too. Public service literally paves the way for new innovation, new business, new industry. Public service helps provide for the common good, and public service makes communities safer. It saves lives, and it helps ensure the well-being of our state. That's really why we're here today, to recognize and appreciate this work, express our gratitude and thanks for the dedication and sacrifice of those committed to public service. You all sacrifice something for the greater good, and today we honor those who sacrificed all for all of us. I honor, appreciate, and will certainly follow their example. Thank you very much.
Please welcome the Honorable Mark DeSallier, the Chair of the Senate Transportation and Housing Committee.
Thank you all for being here today. This is the second occasion I've had to come and speak with you, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate your commitment, and I also want to recognize the leadership of the department and the administration for making sure, and the really inspiring words we just heard from my friend Brian Kelly, and Secretary Kelly's appreciation for all public workers and public servants. Many years ago, the British poet William Wordsworth, when trying to define what a meaningful life was, he said that the true measure of a good person's life are the countless unnoticed and unappreciated acts of kindness and love in that person's life. Today I would add moments of professionalism. On any given California day, thousands of members of the Department of California Transportation go off to work and leave their homes in the expectation of returning to their loved ones And they do that and risk their lives so that millions of California can do that same journey and come home with the expectation of another day. For the Baker family and the Jones family and the families who are here, they know the unbelievable pain and realization when on April 24th, for instance, the Baker and Jones family came to realize that their loved ones would not be coming home. On April 24th, my friend Mr. Kelly called me as part of our protocol and let me know of the incident and what happened. It's my very sincere wish that a year from now I will be able to stand here and not have to recall a phone call like that. I appreciate all that you do. We appreciate all you do. And for the millions of Californians who don't realize the sacrifice and the risk you make every day, it's important and of value that today remember Mr. Baker and Mr. Jones. Thank you very much.
Please welcome now the Honorable Bonnie Lowenthal with a bit of laryngitis, the chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee.
Good morning. I'm testing my voice. I hope you can hear me. First, I want to thank everyone for attending this very important memorial. The recent events that just occurred in District 2 are tragic reminders of the sacrifices Caltrans workers make on a daily basis to ensure the safety of our drivers throughout the state. And I think sacrifice is a key word I want you to remember. Every year, over 20,000 workers are injured in highway zones nationwide. These people are fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, husbands and wives. They all put their lives in danger every day for us. As chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee, workers' safety has always been and will always be a top priority for me and my committee. We're constantly looking at ways to improve the safety of our workers and ensure best practices that are carried out in our work zones. This year, my committee has been working with numerous stakeholders, including industry representatives and Caltrans, to assess work zone safety. Our work in this area is not complete. We're working now to develop a comprehensive hearing this fall where we will be able to evaluate accident data, work zone safety specifications, policies, and practices with the intent to explore more aggressive means to improve work zone safety. And I hope that many of you will be a part of that hearing. When it comes to worker safety, every single one of us is responsible. Employers, drivers, and workers. All of us have a role. Safe and efficient work zones begin with proper planning and implementation of safety procedures. Drivers must use extra caution in and around work zones by reducing speeds and, as you well know, minimize distractions such as using cell phones, texting, or the radio. Drivers should also be aware that inattentive and aggressive driving puts both our frontline workers and themselves in serious danger. We can and we are doing more. I applaud the recent efforts by Caltrans and CHP to post move over signs along the highways throughout the state. And I'm confident that these signs will be effective in reminding drivers that we're all responsible for safety on our roads. I urge Caltrans to remain vigilant on its continuing effort to keep its workers, including its contractors, safe while they're working on our highways. I want to extend my deep thanks for your dedication, for your sacrifice, and your commitment to public service. I want to thank everyone for coming out and honoring those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And my sincerest condolences go out to the families and friends who've lost someone in the line of service. Thank you very, very much.
I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of Engineering for AGC, Associated General Contractors, Mr. Sam Hassoun.
Thank you. On behalf of the Associated General Contractors of California, I'm honored to be here today and to offer my deepest condolences to the families of our lost loved ones who lost our families of the fallen workers on our highways. Each day in the United States, more than 9 people are killed and more than 1,000 people are injured in crashes due to distracted drivers. Over 30% of the drivers in the U.S. have reported that they either had read, sent a text message, or an email while behind the wheels. Many of those drivers, unfortunately, drive through our work zones. Construction activity is an important foundation to the California economy. It is a symbol of healthy growth, and it paves the way for ourselves and our future generations here in our state. AGC of California represents over 700,000 men and women that make their living in the construction industry. They participate in the economy of our state, and they participate in building the infrastructure and the highway system and the transportation system that's badly needed and urgently needed in California. However, repairing our roads and bridges and expanding mobility for the people of California cannot be a life or death proposition. Partnership between Caltrans and the construction industry in the slow for the cone zone and the move over signs has been an ultimate partnership, along with the Federal Highway Administration with the safety edge, involving the construction industry in providing that safety for our motorists and our workers has been the ultimate partnership. Working collaboratively with our legislators and lawmakers in providing laws to reduce speed at construction zones and also to provide motorists from texting and driving and keeping drunk drivers off the roads can only and will continue to save lives. But we know that's not enough. Even one work zone fatality is one too many. One grieving family, one company, one organization, or one public agency is devastated by such a loss. So we still need you. Safety is everyone's responsibility. We cannot expect to grow, create jobs, help the economy of our state at the expense of the safety of our workers. So I urge you, please, to slow down when you see signs of construction activities, the move over signs, all the slow for the cone zone activities. Please talk and educate your family members, your neighbors, the people that you come in touch and in contact with. Let them know how safe they will be, and the workers on the freeways will as well. Please set aside distractive devices. Beth mentioned that, and I'm here to tell you, please set aside your cell phones and any distractive devices while you're behind the wheel. And I urge you, please, to help us bring you, your family members, your loved ones, and our workers safely home. Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
Now let's please welcome the coordinator of the International Union of Operating Engineers, State Unit 12, George Swift.
Thank you. And our condolences and sympathy, heartfelt sympathies to the families today, especially to the family that just lost a worker this morning. and also the workers last week. I'm representing Tim Neep, the director of Bargaining Unit 12. He couldn't be here today, so he asked me to fill in for him. I also like to recognize the other unions who represent Caltrans workers, CSEA, SEIU Local 1000, and PEG, the Professional Engineers in Government, who are here today to honor their fallen workers. We can only imagine what this family's endured when these workers didn't come home, and we don't like that to happen again. Last week when I was getting ready to prepare my speech, I was hoping that I could say, you know, we've gone a year without losing a worker, but unfortunately that didn't happen on Thursday. We lost 2 workers in a very unusual operation on a rock scaling. IUOE sponsors bills. In fact, we sponsored the bill, move-over bill, 2 years ago, and we're hoping that that would have a great impact on the number of vehicles that are hit alongside the road. We have not seen a dramatic change in that as of yet, but we will probably see more as the public is educated more. And the signs going up to remind them to move over is a great improvement. As I drive down the road, I see this happen every day. There's room to move over, and cars speed right by our flashing trucks. I can't tell you how many times I've had a phone call and the guy will tell me he got hit today. He's fine, but the truck got damaged. This goes on. I've been representing Caltrans workers for 40 years, and we've had campaigns after campaigns. I remember the first one we had was, when you see orange, give them a break. And that campaign lasted a few years, and then the next one was a slow for the cone zone. And move over, I think, is probably one of the better ones because we actually can get them away from our workers so we can save lives. I again want to thank the families for being here to honor their loved ones. And hopefully next year when we come back, we won't have to put in place any more cones out here. I thank you, and remember, when you see the flashing lights, move over.
Thank you, George. We all share that thought. And our final speakers today are Thomas Tiny Rangel and Daryl Brown. Some of you know their story. They are from District 8. They're highway maintenance employees, and last year they experienced a serious work zone incident. They're going to share a little bit of that with us now. Welcome, gentlemen.
I just want to, first of all, give the Lord thanks for allowing me to be here and spend time with my brothers and sisters of the highway. I especially want to give thanks to my brother because I may not be here if it weren't for him. Saved my life. And that day, I give the Lord thanks because I'm able to hug my family and my friends on the road and spend time with them. And that's the most important thing. But I do want to say, when it's colder than cold and it's raining and it's hot, we who all work down the road, that's what we do. That's what we enjoy doing. And when we get in an accident, we do pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, and we go back and do and take care of the roads and make the traveling road safe for the traveling public. And I just want to say I give all my thanks to the Lord and to my friend. I will be eternally grateful for that and continue to be grateful for them. And I just want to say my condolences to the families who got lost their lives on the last week and the one on here, to honor him, to spread the sadness of him. And our prayers go out to him.
I feel that it's an honor to be asked to speak here today and a privilege. You know, I've been working here at Caltrans for 30 years, and just about 30 years, and I had the opportunity in those years to meet some of the fallen. I knew when I first started here, I met Henry Rick Mendoza, and I remember one thing about Rick was that he used to organize bike rides on the weekends, and he always encouraged everybody to stay healthy and everything. And then I also got a chance to meet Charles Chuck Deming, and what I remember about Chuck was that he used to always wear a Mountain Man hat and always have a Mountain Man coffee cup pinned to his side, and he was such a good guy. I mean, just a guy to meet. And I also remember meeting my good friend John Knabenbauer, Johnny Five. That guy was such an inspiration to me. Whenever things were going bad for me, and on a day I had a bad day, he would always have an encouraging word to say and lift my spirits. So I would say, you know, in general, Caltrans is just full of guys like that, just good guys, and it's been a pleasure to work with guys like that, especially this big guy right here. I mean, this is one of my special friends here at Caltrans. On that day that we were out there, he had called me to come help him get his truck started, and I said, no problem, man, I'll be there in a minute. And got there, and we had just started to get it going, and a distracted driver, came from the #1 lane over to the shoulder and clipped the back of our truck, his truck, and that's the extent of our accident. But we're just fortunate, we're blessed to be here today, and I just want to thank God for that, and I feel like I got a lot of thanks in me for everybody involved, and I just want to say thank you for letting me speak here today.
Thank you.
Thank you to Tiny, to Daryl, to all of our speakers. Our ceremonial cone and wreath presentation will feature the Caltrans Honor Guard, our District 3 Amazing Grace soloist Timothy Weeks, the Caltrans Quartet, and Lieutenant Colonel Bill Tubbs of the California State Military Reserve.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see.
Once again, our senior chaplain, Mindy Russell, with today's benediction.
If I could provide a blessing over each one of you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you, and may the love of God be above you to overshadow you, beneath you to uphold you, before you to guide you, behind you to protect you, close beside you and within you to make you able for all things to reward your faithfulness with the joy and peace which the world can't give, neither can it take away. In this we pray. Amen. God bless you.
Our peace to the families of Dean Patton, Sean Baker, Robert Jones, all of you who have joined with us today, and all of the families and friends of the 181 fallen workers we remember today. There's an old Carole King song with some lyrics that go something like this: "There's a space between us, a place that I can't go, unless you reach across and meet me halfway." We try to think that we meet halfway, but sometimes we have to do all the reaching. So when you get safely back to your office today or to your home, remember the space and reach out to someone, anyone. Close the gap. Remember, we protect and care for each other, and that's the best that we can go forward with today in our hearts. Thank you all. Thank you to George Burnstead in front of me, our member of the Honor Guard who retired and came back to join us, closing the gap ever so much more. The Honor Guard will escort the family to a private ceremony with the Caltrans Deputy Director. Thank you, everyone. Be in peace.
And before you go, on behalf of the entire Caltrans family, I want to express our appreciation for Beth Ruyak and the tremendous, amazing, graceful job that she does every year in pulling us together through these hard times. She truly has become a glue that really helps hold all of us together during these difficult times, and we just really appreciate you, so thank you.
Thank you. Travel safely.